Hello and welcome to Lights in the Darkness. Yes, we
Ooh, hi.
are back. Yeah, well, we had to take a pause for a while, but we're back stronger than ever. And our first guest, Ellie, go ahead.
All right. Our first guest today is Kerry Costello, and he has a great story about grief, coming back from grief, about resilience and strength. And we're so excited to have him. We're so excited to hear what he has to say. Kerry, can you start off with what was the root of that grief? Can you start there?
For sure. And I want to say, Erna and Allie, thank you both so much for creating this space. That title is so powerful. Two
Good to
lights in the
have you,
Oh,
Carrie.
I love that. I love that. There are so
Thanks.
many people that we don't even realize, right, that are walking through their own darkness
Yeah.
and looking for a light. I am mentoring a friend now who is experiencing some of the same grief that I traversed. He lost his wife a little less than a year ago, and so, Allie, you asked kind of what that grief was like, and I think you want me to start with losing my wife. Is that
Yes,
is that where you'd
correct.
like to? Yeah. So, I'd really love to start with who she was
Sure,
before,
sure.
before. Um, just to do her that honor and so
Mhm.
that people know what the rest of this story looks like. But she and I married super young. I was 22, she was 21, and it was one of those, I guess, love at first sight kind of things. And we did a lot of growing up together, and we graduated college together and moved back to her hometown, and we're just really living just a really joyous little bitty life, simple life. I was coaching and teaching, and she was working in human resources, and we lived really close to all of her family and mine, and we saw our family every day and went to church all together, and it was just the picture, right,
Mm,
of family life. And we decided to have children about 9 years into our marriage. We waited quite a while so we just needed to grow up some and together and go on some adventures together. And we did. And so about 9 years into our marriage, we decided to have children. And I remember the day, I have to make mention of this because I remember the day that we went in for the ultrasound expecting to see one baby.
Oh,
And we took her mom with us. She was so excited to be a grandmother, and we saw two. So we were having twins, and she and I shared a look of shock while her mother is behind us, jumping up and down, laughing
I
and
can
so
so
full of
imagine
joy.
that going
We're
on.
like, are you going to help financially take care of one of these? Is that what's making you so happy? Like because we're both kind of freaking out, and so that was a really joyous time in our life. But like life happens to do, the big C word showed up.
Oh.
And so her mother-in-law developed a very rare form of uh, liver cancer,
mm,
and it developed in her lungs and liver. And she was able to have surgery pretty quickly and went into remission, but that only lasted about 8 months. And when it came back, then she had little time. She had very small time. And so she actually had another surgery the day that my wife had an emergency C-section. So she wasn't even there
Oh.
for the birth of our daughters. And so um, that was really tough. And, the disease hadn't been very aggressive at first. But within her last 6 months, it became so very aggressive, and my wife became her primary caretaker at the same time trying to be a new mom. And so this was so very difficult. And I'm already getting emotional. What I didn't realize, just, being a new dad and just being young and kind of naive to life. And this is my first real experience with someone I know and love that is a cherished part of our family, our matriarch, if you will. And our time with her is getting shorter by the day. And I didn't see that I was also losing my wife emotionally and psychologically. She just began to wither. She really did. She lost the joyous, bubbly personality that she had. And, there's so much going on, trying to take care of her mom and, well, at the same time, helping her mom, do all of these things that kind of tie your life together at the end. Sadly, to put it that way, with establishing the estate and what's going to go to whom. And that just eroded the joy of being new parents. And I've had people ask me if maybe some postpartum depression was also part of this. And, I can't target it, so it would be so difficult to say yes, but I also can't say no. But I can tell you with certainty that who she was disappeared on me a little bit more every day. And she became very addicted to some, pain medicines, and she turned to numbing this pain she was going through. And so during this time, though, I developed a bond with my girls, my daughters, that still carries today, just because I had to take care of them so much. And so we got new jobs after her mother passed. We got new jobs and we were going to move to a new city, just kind of start over. And so we had a going away party. And as I look back on that now, I thought, if anyone is hearing this and you are very close to someone who struggles with depression, I urge you to look at everything they do, even their emotions, and really analyze to see how best you can support them. Because what I thought was my wife returning to her old joyous self was really her saying goodbye. She was giving everyone one last picture
Oh my
of
God,
who
I
she
get
was.
goosebumps when you say
And
that.
so, yeah, and it's you hear so many different things about suicidal ideation, and one thing that I would say is probably, I can't say it's concrete because I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but when someone makes up their mind that that's what they're going to do, the way in which they're going to do it is going to be concrete. There's not going to be a try. There's
No.
going to be a do. And for her, she had already made up her mind. I didn't know this, but I found things later, like her journal and a letter she left for me and some other things she had done.
Oh,
And she had gone while she was buttoning up her mom's end of life. She was also buttoning up hers without me knowing it.
oh my God.
And so um, we threw a going away party, and it was her going away party because about a week later, I returned home from a run. I remember the last conversation I had with her. We had put our girls down for a nap, and she was sitting on the couch just in quiet. And I sat down in front of her and I said, "Hey, honey, I'm going to go for a run and I'll be back in about 30 minutes." And she said, "Well, when we get back, we'll go for ice cream and we'll just take the girls and go have a little adventure." She was leaving me with a picture
Mm.
of happiness. And as I walked out the door, she said, "I love you." And she never said it like that. It was always, that we always were a little more playful, like, "Hey, I freaking love you," or "I love you, stupid," or, something silly. But the way she said it was so sincere. And again, I missed this sign.
Yeah,
I
but you
said, "Yeah, I love you
didn't
too." And I
know. You
didn't even
didn't know
turn
what
around.
to look for, right?
Right, right. I didn't know. And that's why I urge people, if you know someone that does struggle with depression and suicidal ideation, really, really analyze everything and anything that they say and do so
Mm-hmm.
that you can best support them and don't be dismissive, you know? And so, um, when I came home about 20 or 30 minutes later, I walked into my apartment and it was so eerie. It was so eerily quiet. I knew my daughters were asleep and I didn't see my wife anywhere. And so my assumption was that she had taken a nap too. And so I went into our bedroom and, or I just stepped into the doorway and I saw her in the bed, lying in bed. And I just glanced, but I didn't really take a picture with my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was, oh, didn't want to wake her. So I stepped right back out and I got one step out of the bedroom and everything in me knew that something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stepped back in and went to her. And that's when I realized, just from the things that you can obviously see when someone does that, when they commit suicide, um, what had happened. And I was just in disbelief. I'm CPR certified, and so I immediately checked her pulse, but it hadn't dawned on me yet what she'd done. I thought maybe there was some kind of horrific accident.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw I'm a coach, and so I'm gone away from home a lot in the evening. And then I saw the pistol that
Mm.
I bought her to protect
Oh
herself
my God. Mm.
when she was home with our girls alone, in her hand still.
Wow. Mm.
And so I immediately rushed out of the room to call 911 because I'd laid my phone down and I had passed. I'm not a believer in coincidences. I'm a firm believer in things happen for a very specific reason. And while I was out running, I passed a police officer just a block away from our home. And so by the time I set my phone down from calling 911, he was in my driveway already.
Mm.
And so we went to her again, and that's when I found the note that she'd left me, and so many things there to take in that just compact, and compile your grief, this is things she had to say to me, you know, in apology, the things she already regretted that she would miss, like um, she apologized for missing us growing old together and
Uh,
uh, not being able to help me walk our daughters down the aisle one day. And that's when it dawned on me. I set this letter down and I'm just still trying to process, what step do I take next? And the most fearful that I've ever felt in my life, a fear, it just gripped me immediately because it dawned on me. I had not heard my daughters at all.
mm.
And so my immediate fear was that she'd taken them with her and their bedroom door was shut. And so I don't even remember walking the few steps to the door. It was as if I manifested
Mm. I bet.
right in front of the door and turned the knob. And thank God they were both standing in their cribs, but they had this look of just bewilderment on their
Mm.
face. Um, and I have to wonder what they heard
Mm.
in the moments before I got there. And they actually experienced some PTSD throughout their life, that they've had to do therapy for. Loud noises, I noticed when they were just 1 and 2 years old. Anytime fireworks or something would go off, they would just freeze. I mean,
Oh
they
my.
would be catatonic and not
Mm.
able to move or speak. And we would have to really soothe them, physically and emotionally so there's no telling,
Mm.
what they heard throughout that whole process. And so Um, my my journey with that grief, it was just really starting. But I'm so thankful. As a coach, I try to be impactful for my players, and as a young man, I had a coach who left me with so many tools to be resilient that he built and strengthened in me. And later that night, after I we returned back, my daughters and some of my friends returned back to our home that we still owned in the town we'd just moved from, and all of our family was there. My parents and her dad and sister and all of our family were meeting us there. And I got my daughters to sleep that night after we all had our moment of like, what has just happened, you know? Before we even started mapping out the next day's steps. I got my daughters to sleep and sat down to speak with my mom and my dad and my step parents. And my mom asked me it's been the most poignant and impactful question I've ever been asked. And I am sure that without her asking this question to redirect me, that my grief would have looked completely different. And here's what she asked me. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Son, what are you going to do?"
Mm,
My goodness, what a question.
mm.
You, these moms, they're so wise.
So
And
simple a question, actually, yeah?
it is,
Yeah,
isn't it? Yes, so
Yeah.
simple,
yeah.
yet so hard to answer. But um, that's when the singular purpose that I had to focus on right then in that season of my life immediately jumped into my mind. And it was four words that my college rugby coach had for us. And it was get on the line,
Mm,
get on the line, And so my line now, much removed, far removed from an athletic context, of getting on the line to make a tackle or to run again. This is the line you have to get on,
mm,
where you're going to go through life by yourself, raising two daughters by yourself. Because, my parents lived hours away. And
mm,
so there wasn't a lot of assistance they could offer. And so that's when the singular purpose that I had to focus on now leapt into my heart. And I looked at my mom and parents and I said, tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to raise my daughters by myself.
mm.
And I'm going to be the best father that they could ever have.
Yeah. Mm. I love it.
And that drove me through my grief. It was almost like a motivation
Mm,
every day to get up. One more day, get up. Uh, you know, did grief break me? Yes, absolutely. It broke me. It made me think of following her
mm,
and taking the same step because that would be easier than getting up one more day
mm,
and answering people's questions and seeing the looks on their faces, in the store or at school, at work when they saw me. People had such pity for us, and not that, and they cared for us and for what was happening to us, but it was just like a reminder, seeing them with this look on their face, like, hey, that's not what I need right now. If anything, I need a swift kick in the pants or a hot meal, for my kids so that I don't have to go home and fix supper. Like, I don't need pity right now. I need motivation. But that was what motivated me was being a good parent. And so, now I'm not going to tell you that that made my grief easier, because so many things swirl through your mind. Um, when you're a widow or widower, and I've spoken to a lot of people who've experienced the same loss, and they have the same questions. Am I going to be alone forever?
Yeah.
Is this forever? And when will this stop hurting as much? You
mm.
know, and then there are the questions you can't answer because the only person that can answer them has seen their way out. Why? Why this? Why this way? And why now? Are we not enough?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask,
Yeah,
were you at some point maybe a bit resentful or angry with her?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Some days that's what got me through the day if I could be angry enough to not be sad and depressed,
Yeah.
then I'll run with that. Then I'll run with that. Absolutely. I think I I think I had to go through, there are different phases, of course, of grief, and that's one of them. But I stayed angry at her for years,
Yeah.
for years, um, until I realized that, and I remarried, you may have questions about that, so I don't want to jump ahead too far. But I did eventually remarry, and I think being angry allowed for me to compartmentalize some of my pain and grief and to not wallow in it
Yeah.
and to get myself back into life, and to
Would you
try and
say
seek
that
it
that
out.
is a pitfall for people that are grieving, that
Mhm.
they wallow in it and that they stay stuck in this feeling of grieving because they fear being angry, because you cannot be angry with someone that isn't there anymore, or
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is. And it's probably part of the process,
yeah,
that we have to go through as we struggle and wrestle with the cascade of emotions. Every day it's a little bit different,
yeah,
and that's a struggle in itself because your mind and your body and your emotion, you want to find normal again.
yeah,
But my goodness, what is normal? And so you have to, right. Yeah, there's no, well, the answer is there's not. There's just whatever is next. And and you have to wrestle with those things and here's what I've tried to counsel a friend lately, and I hope he's listening to this. I've told him about this podcast, so I hope he'll listen to it once it's published. But um, I told him that the first step is you have to decide.
yeah,
It is your decision. It's your choice. When you choose to step back out into life, leave your home, go back to work, there's not going to be a normal. It's
Mm,
going to hurt, but it's going to hurt whether you're sitting at home or if you're out in life walking through it.
yeah,
true.
There's not a there's not an easy button. There's not a get over it. There's
Right.
just that we have to wrestle with it all day and every day. And eventually the burden of grief, it becomes a little lighter if we make that choice to
what
go and
what
seek out. Go
sorry.
ahead. No, you're fine.
What was the turning point for you? Really, the question your mother asked you, or was there something else that yeah, that was like, okay, this is it.
Mm.
Now I'm reinventing myself, reinventing my
Mm.
life with my girls.
That is such a great word, reinventing, because that is exactly the mindset I had to give myself. I remember, honestly I do. I remember the night that I decided that things were going to change. Because I had been just going to work, coming back to my apartment, putting my girls to bed, and sitting in my room and just weeping in the floor on my face, weeping. I didn't want to talk to my parents. I didn't want to go do anything with my friends. And they were trying to get me to go to concerts and do all these things and trying to help me get back out into life. And I remember going into prayer. I remember going into prayer and telling God, like I have some kind of bargaining chip with God. But I said, I will not speak to you. I will not worship you. I'm going to be angry with you, but you need to do one thing for me, and that's it. Do one thing for me. You owe me this much because my plan was going great and you allowed this to happen. So here's what I want you to, like, I'm sitting here having this, like I'm compromising, right? Who am I negotiating with God? And I said, send me somebody. This is hard. This is hard. Sorry. Send me somebody that's going to love my daughters, even if they don't love me. I can take
Mm,
it. I can take it. I can be lonely the rest of my life, but they don't deserve this. So send me somebody that's going to love them, even if they don't love me. And so I decided right then, I'm tomorrow, I'm done with this self-pity and I'm done sitting in it and allowing it to control every facet of my life. And so this might sound silly, but the next day I got online and I bought myself a motorcycle because I remember riding with my dad. I know that sounds like that's such a guy thing to do, but here's why. I remember riding with my dad when I was little on the back of his motorcycle and feeling so free and so at peace.
Mm.
And so I bought myself a motorcycle. And in the afternoons, before I picked my girls up from daycare, I would go for rides. And it was the way I cleared my mind of all of the sadness and
Yeah.
anger. It was something small that brought me a little bit of joy.
Mm.
And then I joined a gym and I got a treadmill. And I thought, got to make my body, this is where the reinventing comes in, Erna.
Yeah.
Got to make my body as strong as I can if I want my will and my mind to be stronger. So I will do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I did. I got myself into really good shape and began to read more. And so I thought I will strengthen every facet of my life. I'll seek out things that bring me joy, that bring me peace, and begin to move away from this version of me that is just allowing hurt to control every facet. And that's the way I had to frame it in my mind was every day I'm getting a little bit closer to becoming the person that I want to be, the person that's going to walk through the end of this, not the person that began it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That,
So great question.
yeah, that's a great
Wow.
way to answer.
But then
So,
it depends on you to make the decision. Like you said, you have to decide whether you want it to do it or not.
Yes. Yes. It was a must.
Yeah.
It was a must. It was a necessity. My daughters had to, and that was another thing that drove the physical aspect was I want to play with them. I
Yeah.
mm,
want to be able to run and be rambunctious and play with them. So I've got to be in good physical shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
And fit. And so that was another motivating factor again, going back to my daughters motivating me. Yeah. Yeah. So um and I met my now wife oh gosh, just like 2 months after I'd lost my wife. Now and we tried to go to dinner and everything and have and date, but she could see that I was not mentally and emotionally ready for that. And so smart, so wise. And I was trying to make myself be ready,
Yeah.
but as we were having that conversation, I was like, you're 1,000% right. I'm not. I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm
mm,
Yeah.
just trying to get through today. So
And were you still in that mindset of maybe I will follow my wife? Or did you was
yes,
that yeah.
yeah.
there were times, yes, you know, on really hard days. Um,
Yeah.
and it didn't take much to trigger those kinds of ideas. It might be the someone that had her perfume on, you
Yeah.
know, that I
Yeah.
walked by, or my my daughters, even though they were little, they would like, "Where's Mama?"
Mm,
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and they would ask questions like, and I would just have to tell them, "Mommy's in heaven. She's okay. You know,
Yeah.
she'll be okay. Don't
that's a great
worry about
answer.
it." You know,
Do
and
your daughters look like your late wife?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. One of them especially now that she's gotten a little bit older, she has all of her facial features here at her eyes, and she has a lot of like freckles in her. Here, you asked me if I would show you guys pictures. I would love to. Let me pull that up, and I'll show you. First, I have to show you them as babies. Let me get this. There we go. Hang on.
Sure.
It'd be great if I could work my phone. There we are. Can you see that?
Um, okay. Um,
It's a bit dark, but
Is it?
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
so cute.
It's
Yeah.
it was a Christmas picture. They were wearing really dark dresses. Oh, here's a better one. Here's one that's more light. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, why can I not work my phone today? That's always the case, isn't it? There we go.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
goodness. Oh my
The
God.
really little ladies, huh?
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
yes, they
great.
are. And here is their senior picture that my wife did. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of blurry.
Yeah, it's kind of going in and out.
Oh,
Um,
Yeah. For
but
they're
some reason it's
yeah,
big
blurring.
now. Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
you have those pictures. I'm so
They're
glad you
all
have
grown up now. I know it's so wild. They just turned 18.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yes, they do, especially like right here. They look just like her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I I remember the day that I met my now wife, Candace is her name. Um, a friend of ours roped us into doing some pictures together under the pretense that we were doing something for a charity event. She was totally lying to us, but we had no idea. She was tugging on our heartstrings. Oh, it's for a charity. We're going to
Oh,
sell these pictures and do a date auction, blah, blah, blah. No, you weren't. She was just totally setting us up, but we wouldn't, we bought it. We bought it hook, line, and sinker. And so, um, I, I didn't want her or any other person that I dated or might date to meet my daughters.
Yeah.
That was too sacred to me.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
because I didn't want them attaching to anyone. I didn't want them to hurt,
Yeah.
or to wonder, who that might be, And so um it just so happened though that I had to pick them up that same day from my mom. And I picked them up and they hadn't eaten yet. And so we drove through a drive-through but they were too small to eat by themselves. And Candace was sitting in the front seat with me of my vehicle, and she climbed into the back and sat in the floorboard and tore up their food and fed it to them.
oh wow.
And that was like, have you heard the term a God wink?
Yeah.
Yes.
A God wink? Like God just winks at you and goes, "Hey, I'm right
I
here.
heard you. I heard
I've
you.
got you." And
Hmm.
for me, that's what that was.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's what that was. That's what I'd asked for,
Yeah.
right?
mm,
Someone that will care more about them than they do me.
mm.
And that
Yeah.
was what imagery, right? To give me right then. Um, and so,
Powerful.
I have chills all over my body right now.
and I was so thankful for that. And all that did was make me want to spend more time with her, but not romantically, just because she cared for us. She sincerely cared for us, and not in a romantic way, the way that we needed, just to be there for us and to spend time with us, to take care of them when I had games, and couldn't be there. And she didn't have to do those things. And I realized that, oh my goodness, I think I love this person.
Mhm.
I One of my daughters got very sick, very sick. She was running 103 temperature, and I could not get it down. And I rushed her to the hospital at 2 o'clock in the morning. And the first phone call I made was to Candace. And it dawned on me, oh my goodness gracious. I've let myself fall in love with this person, you know. But um and she wasn't able to meet us there. She was asleep. She didn't get my message till the next day, but the way she called the next day and expressed concern was really affirming for me that, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel this. You have permission
Mm,
to feel this again. You don't have to be alone and angry,
No.
you know? Um, and so we, I invited her to my daughter's second birthday. And this is when I knew that she felt the same way. I
Oh.
hadn't thought about this going forward before I had planned this birthday party, but I wanted it to be special for my girls. Because their first birthday party was just us, just me and them. And so I invited all these people and sent out invitations and dressed them in these little Tinkerbell outfits because they loved Tinkerbell and at the time. And I even bought them a Tinkerbell cake, and we sat down at the table for them to blow out their candles, and it dawned on me that I was sitting there alone,
Mm.
Yeah.
holding them, one on each leg, all alone.
Mm.
And like I said, it didn't take much to trigger these feelings, and that began to capture me again, like how hard it is, and this is months later, 8 months, 6 months later, after she'd passed, and still, I'm still grieving, it hurt to be alone and to feel so alone, even though I'm in this room full of people that love us, and that's the crazy thing about grief, isn't it? Is that it doesn't matter. It does matter to an extent, but it's grief is here and here,
Yeah.
and we don't just, it's not just an emotion we feel, it is something physical and physiological that can cause us real pain. I remember feeling gut-wrenching pain
Mm.
at how alone I really was. And Candace saw this. She saw this in me and came and sat down with us and just put her hand right next to me, like, hey, I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm right
wow.
here. And about a week later, I had invited her to just to come, and I was going to grill, just have some friends over, try and live a normal life, whatever normal was, right? Just trying to do what was next.
Mm.
And she just reached out and held my hand. And it was so a peace,
Mm.
it was like my mind was like, hey, you can feel this. It's okay. Don't fight it. Don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
Just hold her hand. It's okay. Because I literally felt guilty.
Mm.
I just wanted to ask, because I can imagine that there's some sort of battle going on of
Yeah.
you allowing yourself to feel this,
Mhm.
accepting it, and then on the other hand, the guilt and shame of
Yes.
wanting to have this again,
Mm.
or some semblance of what you had.
Absolutely. Shame is such a great word because I did. And when we began to actually date one another, and the first place she asked me to go with her on a date was church. And I told God, I'm not going to church, God. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to talk to you. Me and you are done. Right. And so where does she first thing? I mean, we're not even dating a week. Hey, come to church with me this
Church.
weekend. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Oh my God.
Such a clever
You know,
lady. Oh my goodness.
right. And so, but walking into church with her, some of her family went to the same church, and I did feel shame.
Yeah.
Oh.
And when they began to find out that we were dating one another, I did feel shame. I felt
Mm.
guilty for
Mm.
feeling that way because I still loved Jennifer. I
Sure.
very much still loved her. And it was a struggle in my mind the times where I had now have this new thing to wrestle with. Oh my gosh, like, is it okay? How can I love someone that's not here and have enough love for this person that is and that wants to be a part of our lives, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I had to make another choice. I had to make another choice. I had to let her go. I had to let Jennifer go.
Yeah.
And so I contacted some friends and I said, hey, I need you to go with me just so that I have someone with me to help me manage, all of and to make me not make stupid decisions, and numb what I need to go through. I don't want to numb this. I want to feel every bit of it. I need you to help me. And so I had a couple of friends of mine went with me, and I took some of her ashes to the place where we had married and where we had honeymooned. And I spread them in all these different places and just began to say goodbye
Yeah.
and to really let that go. The part of me that, not the part of me that will always be thankful for her. No, no, no. The part that was angry at her and the part that still held on to a care that I needed to give Candace and a care that I needed to give my girls and a focus and attention that I gave to what was and to the grief that I had to give all of that now to the people that were trying to be a part of my life now, because my life now, I'm getting to the end of this cycle, this season, if you will.
Yeah.
It's time to give it all to them.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
just had to let her go. And that was another choice
Yeah.
that I had to make. And I think that's where a lot of people, even after they deal with their grief, that's still something they struggle with, that I've seen, is they won't allow themselves to fully step into what life now has for them.
Yeah.
And if you will, the light that life has in store for them.
Yeah.
They
But
choose to stay.
but that's the thing, huh?
It is.
When we are in this darkness, um, our mind gives the signal, okay, you are in darkness, but you are at least safe.
Hmm.
If you
Hmm.
stay here, then nothing else is going to happen.
Right.
You can't get hurt again. You don't feel ashamed again. You don't feel guilt again. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. You don't have to move past this. You just stay
Exactly.
right here. It becomes comfortable.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
familiar, so why give up the familiarity
Right.
for something
Yeah.
that is scary?
Hmm.
Finding a new love again.
Hmm.
Ooh, that's that's difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because what if it happens again? And that's,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my life, and some days I'm still guilty of this, waiting for the bottom to fall out.
Mm,
Yeah.
And my wife Candace has even said to me, "I'm not going anywhere.
that's
You
awesome.
don't have to worry about that." Because there have been moments where no marriage is perfect, and we not that we necessarily fight, but we disagree. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Just please don't ever leave me. I can't do that again." She's like,
Yeah.
"Why would you think that?" It's like, because that's where I frame pain now. It goes to that, and
Yeah.
that's no, it's not something I want, it's just an unconscious, it's like subliminal almost, when something starts to hurt. Oh, well, here comes
Yeah.
major tragedy again.
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we lost a child, Candace and I. We wanted to have a huge family. We wanted to have a really big family, and it just was not God's plan for us, and that's okay. We've come to terms with that, but we lost a child, um,
No.
Sorry. Oh, after all the
about,
yeah. Oh
sorry.
my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years into our marriage. And we tried and we had to turn to fertility doctors and things like that. And that took its toll. And then another God wink. Before we married, her church required us to go through a counseling session. And the counselor gave me a book called, it was titled A Couple After God's Own Heart.
Hmm. Like it.
And I hadn't picked it up again since we went through that little counseling session. I thought, we love each other. We got this. It's just so much, so many more layers to marriage than we love each other. We got this, you know? And in her grief, because I had gone through what I went through,
Mm.
I could wisely counsel her
Yeah.
and help her and know when to push or to just sit with her in it
Yeah.
and let her feel what she's going to feel
Mm.
and counsel her through the cycle of dealing with this. And we turned to this book and I said, I want us to go through this book together. And just like I strengthened my body and emotions and mind, we're going to strengthen our marriage. We can control that, but you have to decide to do this with me. You have to be all in for these conversations. And so we began that process of going through this. It was half marriage counseling, half devotional. And the book spoke on so many biblical women who had experienced the same thing in
Mm.
not being able to have a child. And so she came to me one day and had this glow about her. Like I could tell something had changed. A corner had been turned. And she said, no more medicine, no more doctors.
Mm.
If God wants us to have a child, we're going to have a child.
Awesome.
And 2 months later, she calls me while I'm at soccer practice. She said, hey, you need to get home. You need to get home. I just took a pregnancy test and I think you're going to like the result. Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
that's awesome. I love it.
And we welcomed our son in 2015. And
Oh.
he was
Oh,
perfect. He was actually too big. We had to do an emergency C-section.
Oh.
And, but she was so beautiful while she was pregnant. And she just, you could see gratitude on her
Mm.
face every
Wow.
day, and she would take warm baths because he would begin to move. And she would go take a bath just to feel him move,
Oh
and,
my
and
gosh. I
so
love
we
it.
were able to share that together and move past, what we lost. And we decided that's not something we want to let go. We want to remember what we lost.
yeah.
So we are more thankful for what we have. And
Yeah.
so we together went and got matching tattoos, and they say, I'm sending him who is my very heart back to you in
Oh,
just gratitude for the blessing that our son is, after losing a child. So, um, and it was so similar, the pain journey, if you will,
Mm.
of losing Jennifer. And I think that's why I could counsel her through it, as I
yeah.
dealt with the pain of it, Mike, because we both had dreams, of what this child would become and who they would be and experiences we would have with them. And that was taken from us,
Yeah.
not of our own accord, just like I lost Jennifer. It's not my
Yeah.
doing. There's nothing I can do about it. And it was taken, she was taken from me, and that what we would do together was taken from me. And so I know there was purpose in what I went through,
Mm. Of
Yeah.
if
course.
only because of the way I could counsel my wife through that loss. Yeah.
Awesome.
But
That's beautiful.
It is. to see that, you see that insight and it's like, wow, this is why,
This is
uh,
why.
this is why. Yeah.
And so many things throughout my coaching career, I've been able to go back to that ethos, if you will, of what I went through. There's purpose in it, but not just for me, for other people, so that I can help others. And I'm
Yeah.
doing that now
You are.
with, like I said, here we are having this conversation. And I've shared it in podcasts that I do with a friend, where I've discussed this openly, and even close friends who are now going through similar experiences. I can mentor them, but I'll tell you, this made me so sensitive to other people's loss and their pain and their grief, if you will.
Hmm.
We were having dinner, and this has happened multiple times, but this one instance really signifies, it really embodies what I mean by having purpose to this experience that I had, this painful experience that I had. We were having dinner one night, and our waiter reached out to hand me a glass of wine, and I saw a semicolon tattoo on his arm. And I knew in that instant that I have to speak to this person.
Mm,
I have to, it's my duty. It's my responsibility, if you will. And I know God put this on my heart. When he came back, I grabbed him by the arm.
mm,
I said, "Hey, you don't know me. You have no idea who I am and what I've been through, but I need you to know, and God needs you to know, that he's not done with you,
mm.
and that your life has meaning, and that the world is a better place because you are in it,
Wow.
and that you are going to do things, mighty things. But you've got to get past this."
Wow.
And I was touching his arm, where it's
Mm,
tattooed, and he began to weep.
mm,
Oh,
And he said, I tried to take my life and I still want to.
mm,
And my mother, I haven't seen her in 10 years. She lives in South America, and she has been trying to get me to come see her. And I think tomorrow I'm going to go buy a plane ticket
no, that's
and go see my
awesome.
mom. And I was like, yeah, that's a great plan. Other than whatever else you had planned to do to yourself,
yeah,
Exactly.
now you have a new one.
yeah,
Yeah. And so,
Uh,
and I never saw this person again. I prayed over him. He allowed me to do that before we left, and never spoke to him again. Haven't seen him. I have no idea what became of him, but I know that something shifted
yeah.
mm,
for him in that instant. And without what I'd gone through, that conversation doesn't happen
No,
for him, you know?
no.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Candace was your earth angel and you were his earth angel. I love that.
That's, I love that you said that. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way. But my dad refers to her as such. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And my daughters are as beautiful as the woman that gave them life
I
and
love that.
as the one that is giving them life. She has been more, I couldn't even, when we married, I couldn't even fathom the kind of mom that she has been to them.
Mm,
It's more than I could have asked, more, abundantly more than I could have asked for. Just the way that she cares for them, loves them as part of their life, and has taught them to be just fundamentally and morally great women
mm,
and great people, and how
mm.
strong they are in in who they are and what they want out of life.
That's
You
great.
know, that was such a fear that I had,
Yeah.
was, am I am I going to mess them up? I can't even do pigtails right. Am I
They're
going to
so
mess them up?
easy.
Your mom.
Yeah, Erna, they're not that easy. Not for these big,
Practice makes perfect. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
these big, huge hands. I can't. And so it was such a struggle, um, to try and beat both mom and dad.
Yeah.
And she just jumped right in. How brave of her, to jump into being an immediate mother of two,
Yeah.
uh,
That's awesome.
and and wife to a widower. How
Mm,
brave
Yeah.
is that? I'm sure some of her friends probably had a different word for brave.
Run,
Yeah,
run.
right. Right. But she just creates a beautiful life for us every day and for my kids and for our son. And
I love it.
I, this process that I went through wasn't done. It's still not done doing its work. I know there is work still to be done, but I leaned on it again. I don't know if I shared this with you guys as we were getting ready for this, but in 2021, we were talking about COVID
Yep,
earlier.
we
All
were.
were. Well, I was no stranger, let me tell you. I was hospitalized
Uh,
with COVID for 13 days. And when I went in, I had already had it for 2 weeks and had not gone to a doctor. Pneumonia had set in. And so when um, I went to just like an emergency room kind of care unit, and they listened to me and they brought me a file with all my records in it. And they said, "You need to go to a hospital right now.
mm,
You can get there faster than if we call an ambulance.
wow.
Go right now. Don't go home. Go
Mm,
to a hospital, give them this, and tell them to admit you."
wow.
Okay. Yeah, I was running a temperature and I was having trouble breathing, but I had no idea what was happening.
Mm,
And so I went to a hospital, went in their emergency room, and they immediately began the process to get me into a room and got an IV in me and oxygen on me. And I'm like,
yeah.
what is really going on? I was so
Why?
confused. And they took me to a room, and it was 24 hours before I saw a doctor because
Wow.
I was on a COVID unit and there was only one doctor on call. It was over the weekend,
Wow.
and the other patients on the unit were much worse off than I was.
Wow.
And so it was a whole day before she got to me. But when the doctor did get to me, she brought pulmonologists and the virologist, and they said, you know, "You're really sick."
Mm,
And well, give me an idea. That's kind of the picture that you guys are painting, but tell me how sick. And they said, well, I don't know. We want to put you on a respirator. I said, no, we're not doing that.
mm,
They said, well, you really need it. Your lungs are going to shut down. I said, well,
mm.
tell me, tell me I need numbers. I'm a coach. I need statistics. Give me some numbers. What are we talking about here? Leaving. We're going to give you less than a 40% chance of living,
Uh,
Oh my
not
God.
leaving,
mm,
of living. And that's when this became reality for me. I was like, God, you did not take me through everything I went through for this to be it. So this is not it.
Yeah.
And I did not tell my wife this. She, they couldn't come see me, of course, it was COVID, but my entire family had COVID as well. They were all back home with COVID.
Jeez.
I did not tell her this because she would absolutely lose. She would panic, and she needed to take care of herself and get well and take
Mhm,
care of our kids and get them well. So I did not tell her this. I just told her I'm going to be here for a little while.
mhm,
And so I made the doctor a deal. I said, give me antibodies. Well, you're a little bit past antibodies. I said, is it going to kill me? No. Is COVID going to kill me? It might. Okay, well, give me antibodies. I
Yep.
said, I'll tell you what, you can come in every hour and give me antibiotics and steroids, but you're not plugging me into a breathing machine.
Yeah.
My body's going to fight. You let me fight. Give me a fighting chance. And they said, okay, we'll give you about 3 days. Okay, 3 days I'm fighting this. What else do I need to do to get myself better? And so they brought me this little breathing apparatus that you have to breathe into, and it moves this little dial. And they said, when you can get that to this specific number and hold it there, then we'll think about letting you go home. But right now,
Ooh, but that's a
you're too
good
sick.
goal setter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so that became just how I strengthened myself when I lost my wife, mentally, physically. This became my tool.
Mhm.
And so every 5 minutes, I'm breathing into this thing. And I couldn't even, if I took off the oxygen, they had me on full oxygen. If I took off the oxygen, my pulse ox would dip into the 70s. I couldn't even get up to go wash my hands.
Mhm.
Oh,
And so breathing was, it was a chore,
Mhm.
just to say the least. And they would come in and x-ray every morning, every night, every morning, every night, and every hour, giving me more medicine. I gained almost 40 pounds during this time just
Mhm.
because of all the steroids they were giving me. But that's what I told them to do, right? Give me a chance to fight. And they did. And so 13 days. And on the 13th day, the all the doctors came in again, and I could breathe into my little workout tool and I could hold it there. And they said, okay, your lungs are getting clear. You're still not out of the woods. You got a lot of scarring that might never go away. And I was still on oxygen, but they had decreased it from 100% to 20%.
whoa.
And so they were like, we think we can let you go home, you know? Are you ready for that? I said, yeah, absolutely. And so I called my wife and I was like, hey, what are you doing this afternoon? She said, why don't you and the kids come pick me up? And it was my it was my daughter's birthday.
Oh,
Oh,
So we went home and had some birthday cake.
oh, good.
And
wow.
God is so good. And
Mm, yes.
uh, I told them I was going to walk out. I did not walk out, but I was wheeled out. I still could not walk very
Wow.
far at all. Um, and so that that process, that experience strengthened so many people around me that saw that, that we're dealing with losing people to
Yeah.
COVID. That was sadly such a volatile, I guess is the only word we can use
Mm.
for that time, but it gave them hope, it gave
Mm.
them hope. And I coached that year from a golf cart with an oxygen tank because I couldn't walk around. But my team, we went to the state championship game that year.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
by that time, I know, so great. By that time, I could walk and didn't have to have oxygen anymore. So yeah,
Wow.
it was just a special experience. But I like to think that going through that, seeing me go through that, and that I was fighting to get back to them as well,
Mm.
inspired them, gave them some hope,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know. But
sure.
um, I know that all of these things that I just explained without going through losing Jennifer and in the manner that I did and the way that I had to choose to fight my way back into who I was going to be next. Those are the things that gave me the foundation I needed for the other things I would go through
Yeah.
and
Mm.
that other people were going through. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for your listeners, again, your title, Two Lights in the Dark, so powerful.
Mm. Thank you.
For your listeners hearing this, first, thank you, Erna and Allie,
Yeah, no problem.
for giving creating the space for people to come to and find hope and find light in you two.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I hope that if you've heard this and it's given you some kind of hope for what's next, there's absolutely light on the other side. You
Yeah.
have to
Mm-hmm.
choose. You have to choose.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you have to take off the burden that grief is,
Yeah.
and try to find joy again in whatever it is. For me, it was simple things. Like I said, it was a motorcycle ride in the afternoon. It was playing on the playground with my daughters. It was
Mm-hmm.
seeing
It did.
myself get healthy. It was,
Yeah.
but I chose to find joy
Yeah.
somehow. So
It's been wonderful. And I love how you wrapped it up. And I do have one question though, Carrie.
absolutely.
So your daughters, you said they've done, they're doing amazing. And you mentioned that before they had the PTSD, do they
Yes.
still deal with that? Okay. Okay. All right.
Not as much. I don't want to say that they grew out of it per se. Um, we had a very hard conversation with them when they were in middle school. They're so smart. And they have a lot of common sense, but they finally began to piece narratives together
Yeah. Yeah.
to formulate questions that I couldn't pacify anymore
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
about their mom, their birth mother.
Yeah.
And this is after they had gone through therapy
Mm-hmm.
or started therapy rather, but they asked questions that were leading me to having to give them the truth. I
Mm-hmm.
could tell they suspected the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
And so I sat them down. I remember the conversation vividly. My wife, Candace, had never heard me speak of this in the way that I'd spoken about it. She'd never seen me hurt like
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah.
And so it was very emotional for our whole family. And I allowed them to ask questions first before I answered any, and then I just told them,
Mm-hmm.
just like I told you guys here,
Wow.
um, everything that happened, how it happened. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that from that, they could let go
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
some of the things that had haunted them because now they knew what actually happened.
Yeah.
They knew the truth. And
Right.
there was no more confusion
No.
to be had, right?
Yeah.
And now they still went through some therapy sessions for maybe another year, but the therapists they had were so great with them,
Blessing.
guiding them to, hey, this is who you really are. You are so worthy
Mm-hmm.
of people's love. Once they knew the truth, that was a question they had. And I knew this is why I hid this from them, if you would, because I never wanted them asking the questions I asked.
Ah.
Yeah.
Am I worth hanging around for?
Yeah.
Am I worth people loving me?
Mm.
You know, because yeah, it didn't matter what her letter said or how much she expressed that she was sorry. I was still left with that question, and nobody can answer it.
Yeah.
Mm.
I had to get out and seek the answer for myself,
Mm.
and get past the fear of the answer I was afraid of,
Right.
that my baggage would be too much,
Yeah.
Mm.
that what I'd gone through would be too much for anybody to want to take on,
Mm.
that being a parent to, 2 1-year olds would be too much for anyone to want to take on, that it
Mm.
would be too heavy
Yeah.
of a burden for somebody to carry. My fear was no one will. And that was what my doubt and fear told me was no, nobody's going to take this on. You're going to be alone and you're going to screw your daughters up, because you can't be mom and dad. You're going to mess this up. What is going to happen to them? And are they going to do the same thing one day? You
Yeah.
Mm,
know,
evil voice.
because you can't handle this. And so I never wanted them asking those questions, but it came time. It came time
Mm.
to battle that fear that I had. And so we did. And their therapists were so fantastic
Oh, that's
with them,
awesome.
and my wife just so loving, in
Mm,
so many
that's
different
so good.
ways.
I'm so
And
glad this
so,
has a happy ending.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's amazing. Huh? So, for our listeners and viewers, if they have any questions
Mm,
surrounding grief or how you coped with it or how to become resilient,
mhm.
can they reach you for somewhere? Are you open for mentorship?
Oh,
Or
absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. I so open to that because my heart goes out, you know, to people experiencing this, because I can feel empathy,
yeah,
for that. So yet my email is play dot beautiful dot us at gmail.com, and I would reply to any message and answer any question. I'm not afraid of being open about this. I think that's
yeah,
the way that we I don't want to say get past, but I think it's the way that we process
Mhm.
these kinds of things is to openly talk about it. It's the way we find resolution,
yeah,
on the other side of it, really.
yeah, true.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Very good.
It's not
Okay.
good to
absolutely.
bottle everything up and stay stuck in the darkness,
Mm, that's right.
basically.
That's right.
Yeah.
So well said, Erna. Yes. Yeah.
Do you have like a Facebook page, Carrie?
I do. It's just Kerry Castillo on Facebook. They can also find me at on Facebook at there's an Play Beautiful Culture Coaching Consultant. That's a
Okay.
mouthful, but Kerry Castillo is pretty easy. So that way, and on Instagram, I think it's K Manu Castillo. Yeah,
I'll
Awesome.
KMANU Castillo.
I'll just
Yeah.
put all the ways for people to contact you in the description below so that
Mhm.
you can also see it, not only hear it, but then you know where to go to. I'll put the links in there. Um, yeah, and I
Okay.
think thank you so much, Carrie, for sharing your story. And
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me and for starting your podcast back. It's so
Yeah.
important. This is so great that you two are starting this back. It's so needed. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And good
you're
for you
welcome.
starting back. Yeah. And thank you so much for allowing me to be the first one back
Yeah.
on.
Yay.
Really appreciate that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so for our listeners, viewers, hope to see you next time, and goodbye for now.
Yes. Bye for now. See you on the next one. Bye. Bye, everyone.